do another question, which is um, let vector c be equal to vector a plus vector b. So we are obviously doing vector addition. So now we have the options and we have to tick the right one, which is vector c. The magnitude of vector c, or c, is always greater than a. So it's the magnitude of vector a. So you can write it like this or you can write it like this. Both are valid ways to express that. um, I like I like this much more, but this is a much better way to represent it, since you're in this case you're not sure if the value is a vector or not, but in this case you're definitely sure that this is a vector. That's why I uh, like this much more, but I prefer the other one since it's much more faster to write. So the B is it is possible to have vector c be less than vector a, and vector c to be less than vector b. So the third one is c is always, so I wrote this one, so I'm changing the notation, so it might confuse some students, so that's why I'm doing it. So c is always equal to a plus b. And finally option D, which is c is never equal to equal to a plus b. So to just do this, first of all I will just tell you the reason straight up, then we will look at some intuition to understand why. So to understand c is always greater than a, that's not the case, since b can subtract the magnitude of a if they are in opposite directions, so this is not the answer. And over here this is the correct answer. So it is possible that c is less than a if and it is also possible that c is less than b, so that's possible. And option C is that c is always equal to a plus b, which is not true. C is equal to a plus b only when it is the maximum case, or only when a and b are in the same direction, so vector a and vector b are in the same direction. And c is also not true, since c is equal to a plus b when it is the maximum condition, or the angle between vector a and vector b is 0 degrees. So let's look at each of the cases and just try to prove it or disprove it. So the first one we have is c is always greater than vector a. So I will first of all I will take it so that I make let's make it so that c is the resultant, so we don't have to care about it that much. So let's think of a and b. Let's say a is 3, so let's make a 3 units long, so that's 3 units long. Let's make a 3 units long, and b 1 unit long, or 2, let's make it 2 unit 1.5 unit longs, lagbhag 1 almost 1.25. And let's create the parallelogram. Since there is no angle mentioned, I just thought to make of a square. Obviously you can make any other parallelogram that you like. I just liked square, so I made a square. And finally the resultant, which is c in this case, and let's color it red because I like red. So now this is vector a, which I will call 1 newton, oh sorry, I will call 3 newton. This is vector b, which I want to call 2 newton actually. So let's actually call this 2 newton. So um, let's call this 2 newton, why not? So let's say this is 2 newton. Then what is the magnitude of this? Obviously um, if this is the case, this looks like it is greater than 3 newtons just by the picture. We're just trying to look at the picture. So this looks as if it is greater than 3 newton. So greater than 3 Newton. So it will be like this. So greater than 3 Newton. So just by the picture. Obviously the picture can be not true, but in this case it is true. Since we are doing vectors, we are doing something with a vector um, using that. Obviously I don't need to add the Newton. I don't. Why did I need to make it a force? Obviously it can be any vector. So not gonna add the units. You can think there is a unit, but I just did not write it. And now, so let's see, is it possible? So as I look over here, I don't see anything that would think that this was a good thing to make. So never mind that, but I just saw that there is a case where you have it greater than 3. Now let's look at some other cases. I think this might be enough of a gap. So now um, actually the shape is kind of misleading. The shape is like this. Let's delete the terms and let's make it a parallelogram once more. So we changed the angle, we did not change anything else. We also changed the magnitude in some sense, but I'm gonna ignore that. Why? Because I want to, or maybe not, I'm not sure. Let's see what happens. um, so dashes, this will be the resultant. So in this case, if I look at the resultant, okay, so instead of that I will just remove the markings. Let's just write vector A, this is vector B, and this is vector R. And obviously in the first case I see that this is greater than the magnitude of A. And in the second case, if you look closely at the resultant, I think, just looking at it visually, it is less than A, it is also less than B. Hmm. Pretty neat, right? So let's go back. I think B is. I think B might be possible, guys. Yeah? And C is also not possible, since it says C is always equal to A plus B, and both in these two cases I don't see that it is equal to A plus B, right? So also C is always greater than B is also C is always greater than A is also wrong, since in this case C is greater than A. So the only thing that we need to prove is that C is never equal to A plus B, and I think that is pretty easy to prove. So I'm just gonna prove it. Okay, so how do you prove that? You prove it by just doing this. You place one thing over here. Should I make it in a new page, guys? I think making it in a new page might be better. So I take this one, I copy it, I move it over there, bam, boom, boom, bam. This is called magic. So look, this is vector B, this is where is white, so this is vector A, and obviously the resultant, which I'm going to make, the resultant is gonna be something like boom. So let's move it over here, let's make it red, which is gonna be vector R, and this is obviously A plus B in length. So oh sorry, this is C in this case, not the even though it's the resultant, we are calling it C. So let's call every single one C. I see that it equal to A plus B. I think never might be wrong. You can obviously get C to be equal to A plus B in some case. So I think we prove that A is wrong, C is wrong, D is wrong in some case, which means the only possible choice that we have is B is correct. And we also prove that B is correct. So, I hope you enjoyed the video. In the next video, we are gonna do another question. Till then, bye bye.